Hey friends and foes, welcome to Brushwork Podcast. My name is Stephanie Scott, and today we're talking about how to earn a living through blogging with Art Studio Life's Elizabeth Larson Kohler. Today we talk about blogging, Pinterest, making money through all sorts of ways that aren't traditional for the artist, ways that you can use your knowledge that you already have to actually earn some money to support your artwork. We talk about schedules, we talk about habits, we talk about hobbies. You're going to like this interview. And without further ado, here's my interview with Elizabeth. Elizabeth, welcome to Brushwork.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here and very happy to share everything.
I was browsing around Pinterest one day because I was like, I got about 1,000,001 notifications on my phone from a pin that I had pinned 4.5 years ago on a little handmade sketchbook that I had made recently. And I hadn't gotten any sort of action on there for a while. And so I was like, why am I getting so much attention from Pinterest suddenly? This is very confusing. So I go onto the platform and it's like completely different than, it was 4.5 years ago. And I was like, oh, there's a lot of artists on here. There's a lot of art content on here. And I have a podcast. I want to put that on the internet in more places. And I want content that is evergreen, right? Like things that come back no matter how old it is, right? You put something on there and it shows up again. And then I started seeing this one creator over and over again. And I was like, how do you, start oil painting for beginners? And I was like looking that up. And then I kept seeing all these pins. And it was like, what kind of fabric is good to paint on? And what kind of historians? And it was all Art Studio Life. And more Art Studio Life and Art Studio Life. And that is Elizabeth. And y'all, it's funnier because I had no idea it was you. And I've met Elizabeth like 7 years ago, 8 years ago, like back in 2015.
It's a little scary to think of how long ago it was, but yeah.
And I had no idea you had this brand. And I was like, how did this pass me by? And then so I click on your website and I'm like, that's Elizabeth. But she has a new last name now, and she's doing this whole thing, and she's got this incredible brand. So this is Elizabeth from Art Studio Life, and welcome. You're here.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me on.
It's so good. Most of my questions today are about Pinterest, but also Art Studio Life is just a top tier brand. And as far as I understand it, I think I've done a little bit of homework here. You run this with your husband, is that correct?
I do. Oh, good. That's actually, I'm impressed that you know that. We've been sort of wanting to, I'm more kind of the face of the brand, and
right.
We've been wanting to bring him in more because he is, Art Studio Life would not be what it is without him. He's completely central to absolutely everything we do. So yes, we run it together.
Most excellent. You produce so much content and there's so much going on with this brand you've got. I was like, there's no way she's doing this by herself. I'm trying to run Brushwork by myself and I'm like, it's a lot. And so you've got Pinterest, you've got your website, your blog, which I believe is your main money maker. You've got courses. You've got a mailing list. You have a YouTube channel. You've got what else? What am I missing here?
Yeah, so I did recently. I think we noticed each other on TikTok.
Yes.
I just very, very recently started, and I haven't really done much yet, but I have plans to do more. So I did start a TikTok account just because I want to try to attract younger audiences to Art Studio Life, so that and also in a way it's been really fun to be anonymous and to not know. I've actually purposely not wanted TikTok to find people on my contact list. I've just wanted to, because I think it's something that's, pardon me,
to broaden the scope. Basically,
the scope, and also, and I think it's been very freeing to just put out whatever, find out what works, and just to really feel free on the platform. So in a way, I've been trying to have fun with TikTok and see what works and what doesn't. So anyway, I'm on TikTok as well, but still more to do with that.
There's still more. Will never be enough to do, but there's also too much to do.
Yes.
First, can you to give some background to people who don't know your work? Can you tell me a little bit about what kind of paintings you make professionally outside of Art Studio Life?
Yeah. So I primarily consider myself a painter before kind of anything that I do at Art Studio Life. That's kind of my my most important aspect of what I do. So I'm primarily an oil painter. I work from life, so meaning I primarily paint from observation, so paint from what I see, which is kind of a can be anything. I do a lot of still life work. I do landscapes. I do want to get much more into figure painting and doing portraits. But that's kind of my painting and what the way I work and what I do. I also, of course, painting and drawing go hand in hand. I love working with charcoal and graphite pencil.
Your still lives are some of my favorite paintings that maybe I've ever seen. I love your botanicals. I love it when you have little statues. I love it when I can't figure out what the thing is. It's like they're very good. If y'all are watching this, I have her gallery pulled up on screen here, but if you are just listening, she has a very soft touch, I would say, in your paintings. When I look at them, I'm like, they feel soft, they look soft. And even when you have hard edges and everything like that, it's very delicate, and there's a lot of atmosphere, even when you're looking at just a painting of, say, a bowl with a scrap of paper. Like, it's just like, oh, I know what kind of day it is, and I know what it feels like to be in that room on that kitchen looking at this bowl, and it's lovely. You do a great job, which I think makes you a good teacher.
Thank you. Yeah, well, I completely credit just everything I do to the training that I had and the teachers that I've had over the years, because I really have just realized just how fortunate I was. I think often didn't realize just how fortunate I really, really was just to have the kind of training and the environments that I was in. So I'm very thankful and grateful for that. And
it's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Who are some of your I guess let's say your favorite teachers?
Yeah, well, I started the painting program at the University of Washington, and I had Anne Gale was primarily my instructor while I was there, and she is phenomenal. I love her very much. So that I feel like my experience there was very against becoming an artist, becoming a painter, but going through long story short, I ended up in the art program, art department, and just taking some classes with her. Just I never looked back, because they're just so really opened my eyes to what painting is and what painting does and what painting can be. And so that she was definitely and is still a major influence just in my painting. And studying with Israel Hirschberg equally in different ways was very influential for me as a painter, and still is. I think the instructors, the teachers that we have in our lives, I feel their instructions still live on. And I think that's what makes a good teacher, is when even as you grow and develop years after you leave school, like you still have those words going through your mind, because you understand the different layers of what they were saying. Because often there are things that I know, like Aunt Gail would tell me, and then it wasn't until years later I was like, oh, this is what she meant. I didn't get this earlier, but now I do. So that's, they're excellent. Wonderful people.
I often have moments where a teacher will have taught me something even a decade ago, and I'll be like thinking about it one day and be like, oh, I get it. Like sometimes it takes a really, really, really long time for something to sink in that your teacher's taught
totally.
you.
I know, nice. And it's like, so for me, I'm like, oh, goodness, I feel a little silly, like it took that long, but like, well, you
gotta marinate. Okay. Yeah. Now you are a teacher, right? You teach your own courses. Can you tell me about some of your courses that you teach?
Yeah, so I have a different range of courses, and I was they're all primarily I teach oil painting, but one could use acrylic as well, and I have kind of just different tiers and levels. I have a book, a color mixing master guide book,
very cool.
that an ebook that came about as a result of just seeing everything to do with color mixing was very popular, and I was seeing that was a want and need, and so that's something that actually does really well, fortunately. And then I have a course, then kind of a step up from that. I have a color mixing masterclass course, which is basically video format, basically what I have in the book, but you actually can see it in real life. And there's more, it goes more in depth with color mixing. And then I have master painting process, which is all about just the painting process and how to go through the each process of the painting. But then also just the kind of the processes of painting that kind of surround that, how to kind of develop a schedule for your painting, how to just there kind of are micro and macro aspects to the painting process, and that's what that is all about. So then fundamentals, that's one of my big courses, is that goes through the fundamentals of painting and how, and like color, lights, and just all of those aspects that kind of comprise of the language of painting. Because that's when you understand those and learn those, you can really paint anything you want. So that's why I consider that one of kind of my most important, biggest courses. And my most recent course that I created is painting with color, which is kind of how to, so that kind of actually is a next step level up from my color mixing masterclass course, which is how to then apply color mixing to actual painting and how you then kind of interpret what you see into color. So it's kind of just a brief overview of the courses that I have on the website. But that was kind of a development over time, kind of initially first started just putting out free content on my website. And that's kind of where I initially started, was kind of at that sort of spot.
It's rad. What convinced you that you wanted to teach art?
Yeah. So I initially started actually teaching kind of creating website. I taught just at an art center up in northern Washington state.
Okay.
And that's where and it was just kind of more casual. It was just once a week. The classes were fairly small. It tended to consist more of retired people, and it was a very good experience. I was, of course, nervous initially when first starting, and you feel like, oh, what do I have to teach? And will it be a good teach? All those kind of things that go through your mind. But I gained confidence just going through that and just having really lovely people in the class who really appreciated the material, and that that gives you confidence kind of when you do that. And then kind of time later, I actually was very against teaching online.
Really?
Did not. Yes. To me, it felt a little cheap, a little like, that I think I was very concerned. I feel a little silly saying this, but I was very concerned about how it would be perceived from the outside. Because just coming from, I feel like, ideas, perceptions about just what painting a painter should do, or what it should look like, just how you present yourself. But to me, it seemed like, I feel too salesy, markety, kind of doing courses online. So I struggled with this, which is funny for me to now think back on. But my husband it was really great to just have conversations with him about this, and it just helped me to go through that process and just realize that it didn't have to be that, and it wasn't that, and it's kind of more me just kind of putting that on just that aspect of things. So but really what forced me in a way to actually start teaching online, start really putting stuff online was just kind of the place I was at in life. And seeing my husband not enjoy his job at all, like it's very hard when you see a person you love just hating going to work every day. And I did not want that, and it was just really difficult and hard to kind of see that happen. And I had left. I was working as a translating. I grew up bilingual, German English, and so I was translating stuff from art auctions from German to English. It sounds more glamorous than it really was. It did not pay very well. I had left that, and I wanted to be able to contribute in some way, and also maybe get him out of his job, because I was reading just how incredible. I feel like I'd always heard, oh, blogging is dead, you shouldn't blog, and people told me, no, don't do blogging. But I was reading on Google just otherwise, like people were able to make full-time incomes from blogging and from just putting out information online, and there's specific ways that you then make that income, which we can probably get into later. But yeah, that made me realize, wow, this sounds like it's a real thing. Why it doesn't hurt to try. So I did that. I just spent $50 to get domain for a whole year, to get website hosting and all that. So that's how I then started to initially get information up online on website, and I just started writing what I knew, which is about painting, and started teaching just by writing articles. Like you probably saw how to start oil painting, how to paint clouds, how to, in a way they were very beginner oriented, because that's what most people are searching.
It's true. It's very true. And you have a lot of your more recent ones. I feel like the majority of your articles are still towards beginners. It's like how to use the best warm and cool colors in your art. That's very handy if you're a beginner, because you don't even think, should I use warm and cool colors? You're just like blue and red. It's the truth. That is very good. And I feel like your reservations about teaching online were really quite common when you first started, but even now, thinking, oh, is it too on the nose? Is this worth my knowledge, right? And the effort of learning how to make an online course or a blog or whatever, like that's a job in itself. But it's very cool that you've been able to do this full time now with your husband and get him out of the job he hates. We love that. And it's so good. What was your experience like writing your own ebook? Was that fun?
Yeah. That was it. In a way, it was great, and it was difficult, and it was kind of both things at the same time. But in a way, it was wonderful, because I was able to compile like stuff I'd actually already written beforehand and use it and put it together in the ebook. It's 150 pages, which sounds like a lot, which it kind of is, but it was stuff I'd written a lot of stuff beforehand already. And it since it's a color mixing guide, it has a lot of color charts, so it's not like everything is written, but there are a lot
pictures.
Of pardon me? We
love pictures.
Yes, we do. We love pictures. We love pictures. Yeah, so that is an aspect that is a little, kind of adds to kind of, I don't know if one want to say making it easier to kind of add pages to it, because with those color charts, of course, you're working to, you're mixing up colors and you're creating them and you're, photographing them, you're putting, all of that. But I think one of the most difficult aspects for creating the book was just formatting and kind of that more technical aspect of it, and putting it kind of the layouts, getting it correct. And I used a program, which I won't mention because I do not recommend it.
Great.
I wouldn't want anyone to go through
no.
the pain of using this particular program I did. I won't use it ever again. But so it was a good experience, and I do actually recommend to make for people who are interested in kind of teaching online, making an ebook, because it's really good to have a product that you can have be more lower priced. Because video courses you want to have higher price because you take more time and there's just more content, more things you're teaching, and then having something that's a lower priced item, because then people get to kind of experience what you have to offer and then decide, oh, maybe I want to actually take a course. This was really great. I enjoyed this. So
just get a little taste and it's good.
Right.
You hook them in.
Yeah. That's right.
That's excellent. Are you planning on making any future ebooks?
Yeah, actually good. That's a good question, because I just recently decided I have kind of a series of books that I will be starting to work on kind of coming up here in a bit. The ebooks are I found it's been good having ebooks, so
it's good. It's good. Any sneak peeks on future topics, or should we just make them wait?
One of them, I'll reveal one of them. It has to do with kind of value,
okay,
kind of tonal values, and just painting and drawing with tonal values, how to simplify, and kind of not just touching on. Of course, there'll be aspects that beginners can approach, but also have things that relate for more advanced painters as well. And that's something I'm working on in general, is having, because we just touched on that, of having a lot of the things that I have on the website is more beginners, but it's actually also works for advanced painters too. But I do want to really touch on advanced topics as well, to kind of just be able to contribute to those people as well who kind of are wanting that.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Oh, that's going to be so fun. I can't wait to get it. You're like, should I write an ebook? This is great. This is a good idea.
Yeah, no, I mean, it really, honestly, it really is really great because for one, it's a digital product.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a physical product that you have to pay money ahead of time to have printed,
And shipped out. Yeah.
deal with all those things. It's digital. If people are unhappy for whatever reason, it always happens, no matter how wonderful you are, how wonderful your product is. There's people who want refunds. So that takes away from just you're not losing money in a way, because it's a digital product. So it's you don't have to pay more for every besides money lost and just refunds that do happen, because there's always that transaction. But I think everyone, if they're interested, should make an ebook, a digital product. Yeah.
They're so great. And if you're interested in learning more about the mechanics of running your own blog, Elizabeth has this very cool how to start a blog on her website. And you can just sign up here and you get to learn more. So you should check it out. I will have it linked in the show notes. They're so good.
Yeah, that's something that we don't have a lot there yet, but do have plans to really kind of add more to that. And we have a kind of sneak peek. We have have plans to have just a whole other website that just deals all with that, to kind of, because I feel like I've definitely become an evangelist for like everyone should do a blog, everyone should, because it's honestly, it's been an amazing journey for me to just see and witness just how I feel like for much of my life as an artist, just, for all of us, I think, who are painters, artists, it's like, okay, how do we make money and also be able to, work on be serious artists, not just, kind of here and there, but actually have kind of an art practice, a painting practice, but at the same time, really make a normal income, not just, small amounts that you can't really live off of, and this has been an amazing way to be able to do that, for both my husband and I, to have a full-time income, and that allows space, it allows time that you can actually work and be a painter. So
as an artist, not having the pressure of your finances weigh upon every painting you make is really nice.
Yes. And that's exactly why I wanted to, and I think it just is different for everyone. I personally made the choice. I didn't want to have just my income dependent on sales of paintings, because I felt like every time I did have a commission or something, it just made me not as free with what I created and the paintings that I made. So it's been very freeing to have something that's very separate from my own work, and teaching has it's very, in a way, of course, it takes energy and there's effort and time, but it's also very life-giving, seeing people excited about, learning and excited about their work. So it has, I think, enormous benefits.
It feels good. As someone whose bread and butter is commissions, that's mine. I totally understand the draw to, make lots of content that actually pays you, and it's really nice. It's really nice. Speaking of getting paid, when you go to Elizabeth's website, artstudiolife.com, you're going to notice a lot of ads. How do you feel about ads on your website? They're great. They pay you.
So at first, I'll kind of go back to kind of the very beginning days of building my website. So I started it end of 2019. So I would say maybe about September 2019 is when I sort of really started it. And my goal was actually to be able to make enough traffic. And I started on Pinterest because that's what all the bloggers were saying. Hey, Pinterest, because Pinterest is great because it's not about, how many followers you have, about people knowing you, about having likes. It's about you get actual people going to your website because you attach a link to your pin, and then you bring traffic to your website. And that's how I started. And I kind of was quite aggressive, like making pins. And so then my goal to kind of go lead this into you asking me about the ads was to make to get enough traffic to be able to then start making money. And I knew that there was this particular ad agency you needed at that time. They've actually raised it. You needed 25,000 sessions a month. So that was my goal, to be able to make that much kind of sessions to be able to then be able to apply to this ad agency, which was able to do
nice.
Maybe in 4 months time. I can't remember. I know it was really exciting. And so that was the initial first way that made some income. Of course, it's not a ton at first, but it grows with time. And so yeah, kind of fast forward now to today. It's still a significant part right now because we get a lot more traffic now than of course than initially did. Got 100. Is that it? Kind of fluctuates all the time. 120,000 page views a month or so.
That's great
on our website. But so it's a decent amount of income for us, kind of having ads. However, we do want to at some point in the future be able to cancel those, get rid of the ads, because they can be distracting, annoying, as we all know. When we go to websites that have ads, it's like, all right, you have this pop up and these different things happen. So, but it is right now, it is a significant part of our income, and all of the information on the website is free. It's all entirely free. So I guess the way I see it is that people are getting free information, but we of course need to be able to pay for our bills.
You gotta.
It helps to do that.
Yes. I'm the kind of person who will pay like YouTube to not have ads. Have you ever considered a membership type of program?
So I have, and I have had people kind of suggest it sometimes, like, do a Patreon. However, it's something I've sort of shied away from, because I feel like with that, I would feel pressured to kind of every month create a certain amount of content that would be just for membership people. So I've at the moment shied away from that. But it might be something to consider more in the future. So it's something still kind of weighing whether I do it or not.
I was looking at all the articles you've written, and you can sort it by date here. And I'm like, Elizabeth & Co. gets usually 2 or 3 articles out every single month, which is kind of why I asked the question. I'm like, you're already kind of doing that. So, some months are different than others, but that's, it's good. Also, all the content is very distinct, and you're always learning something very different, which is very fun.
Yeah, that's true. I do make quite a bit of content every month. However, the I have it. So I have a fairly large email list. About
tell me about that.
34,000 subscribers at the moment. So that's kind of that.
Rad.
It's kind of built over time. And the way kind of we were able to build this email subscriber list was through. And again, when I say we, just to reiterate it again, I mean my husband and I, because we both do this together. He's,
what's your husband's name?
Integral to everything we do. He was a web developer. I think I forgot to mention this beforehand. So that's
handy. We love
critical,
that.
handy, yes, skills that he adds to this. That's a big piece of information. But all that to say, so 34,000 subscribers that we send then our articles out to.
Mm-hmm.
And it's through our email list that we're actually make the bulk of our income. And so so that's the reason why I kind of have free content and free information that we send out, because then people are able to learn, and they experience kind of my teaching and what I share, and they're able to, in a way, learn from it and decide, oh, I really like this. I enjoy this. So then in time, when I open up, roll into a course, they're like, oh man, yeah, I want to sign up because I learned a lot from Elizabeth and I want to take a course from her. So that's the reason for kind of having that free content. And I feel like if I didn't have all that free content and kind of made it available to everyone, then wouldn't be able to kind of make those connections with people and then have people sign up for the courses, for my paid courses.
That's right.
Yep.
How often can you tell me about the structure of your mailing list? How often are you sending emails? What do you think the secrets are? Secrets is a strong word of getting that number of people onto your mailing list.
Yeah. So, I try to send out an email at least once a week. Mm-hmm. And when I say for that, it's, having a new fresh piece of content. Sometimes I take an old piece of content and I rewrite it because maybe it was something from a long time ago and the SEO is really bad because I didn't know anything about Google SEO. So I rewrite it, rework it. And then, but all that to say is I try to send out new fresh piece of content once a week. It usually always links to an article that I have on the website. Sometimes it's just, something I'm teaching, some thoughts that I have that they're just in the email, but most of the time it links to something.
Yeah.
And then, however, if I'm running a sale or have open enrollments, there'll be more emails that will be sent out. So, yeah. And then that's a great question. The way that I have gotten kind of built it up to that many subscribers is by having a free offering. And for me, and again, this kind of goes a little bit back to, I'm pretty sure I initially noticed this from working on Pinterest, just all my color mixing stuff was very popular. And I noticed the color mixing articles were very popular. I was like, oh, I'll make a free color mixing guide because this seems to be something that speaks to people. So, which was baffling to me because to me it seemed like, you just mix, this and this together.
You just do it. You just do it.
You just do it. But I was like, well, this is what people want. So I'll make a free color mixing guide. And it's been incredibly just great because it's literally from our free color mixing guide that we've built up our email list to 34,000 people. So that's that is what I would recommend to anyone who's interested in doing something like this. Make a free guide, go to Canva. You can free design software, make a free guide, something that will resonate with your audience, or you can find out, you can try different kinds of free guides and see what people are most interested in and do that.
Something that has a little bit of value, something that gets people coming back for more. It's
absolutely
great advice.
That's so crucial. Something that what you just said really hits the nail on the head is adding value. We all, we don't like to think of it that way, but we're all selfish in the sense of, we all are kind of looking out for what's in it for me and how will it add value for me. And that's also why I decided to kind of do this website, because it seemed easier to add value to other people's lives than figure that out with selling my paintings. And I admire people who do that with their paintings like you. I think it's brilliant what you've been doing.
Thank you.
And I haven't really figured that out yet for myself. But yeah, kind of adding value is absolutely how to do it. Yeah.
It keeps it fun too, and it keeps it interesting. And I'm sure it's like the creativity that comes in making new content every week is very similar creativity that comes to making a new painting. And I feel like creatives are unusually equipped to do this kind of work. And I think too, it's like, I think people are creative. It's also, and maybe more willing to fail and just kind of throw, I guess the way I like to think of throw spaghetti at the wall, because that's what it really requires. Just like trying whatever's at your hand. So like just trying everything out and then seeing what sticks. And yeah, it's true. It's so good. I want to take a quick look at your Pinterest page, because this is really what made me call you up. I have this pulled up on the screen right here, and it's so masterfully done. So if you scroll and you scroll and scroll and scroll, Elizabeth has made thousands of pins. I couldn't even get to the bottom because she's making so many. And I think she has this genius formula that if you look at just the ones she's created, it's like 7 realism paintings that you need to know. And then it's like realism paintings that are really going to help you out. And then it's like realism paintings, and it's like the same image, but it's like a little bit different and a little bit changed. And I can tell that you're experimenting every single time you post something to see what's going to stick. And you've been doing this for a long time. When did you first start your Pinterest page?
Yeah, so that would be kind of the end of 2019 that I started Pinterest page. And I got really, and then also I should say a lot of those pins are kind of maybe half done by myself and half my husband.
Great.
And it's like, and it's funny because because we both had very different ways of designing. So it was fun for us to kind of see, this one did well that I did, this one did well he did. So, but yeah, so I was really lucky. And in a sense, the time that I started with Pinterest, kind of end of 2019, people were getting really good traffic. I kind of hit the end of the sort of height of Pinterest traffic, which was fortunate because then I was able to get that boost to my website and then be able to, and I think it's very important when you're starting something new, you can for yourself see this is real, because I heard from other people like, oh, they're able to make an income from having a blog, but it's always different. You had never experienced that yourself. You don't know if this is really real. So I think that helped me to experience that this is real doing this. And but it has changed over time, but it's still an amazing platform to work on and do. And it is I think getting better now, because they took away some abilities to link, which made a lot of people upset, a lot of content creators.
No.
I know, which is, so we're like, wait, this is the
point.
This is the point of why you're on Pinterest, to get people to your website. And also, it's also the point of why if I ever go on Pinterest as a user, I want to be able to go to the website to get more information, to read more. But of course, they're trying to keep people on the Pinterest platform. But I think they're realizing that, we're actually Pinterest. We shouldn't try to be TikTok or Instagram. We should have people, because that's I think what a lot of social medias are trying to be like, what the popular media is doing. But they just they lose their identity then, and it's because what makes Pinterest so amazing is what Pinterest is, which is pins and being able to learn new things, learn new ideas, and learn more about those things by going to the links that are linked to the pins.
It's top tier. What I love most about Pinterest is that it feels archival. It feels like something that you posted ages ago can and still make traction.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
like, for example, our friend here, Elizabeth from Art Studio Life, has 4.4 million monthly views, which is, holy cats, a number. I like got stuck on the followers, and I was like, that's amazing, because that's almost as many followers as you have email subscribers. And then I was like, wow, that's a lot of people looking at each one of these pins. And you look at one pin, and then maybe you back out and you look at another one. Then you click on the website, and it's just like, oh, the website is so much cooler. Like, the Pinterest board is really cool, but the website is just like where all the content's at. Then you're like, okay, then I'm going to subscribe to the mailing list, and then I'm going to get even more info from Elizabeth to my email every single week. And that's really fun. Like, it feeds itself, right? You put things on Pinterest and it feeds the website, which feeds the YouTube, which feeds this and that and other. And it's top tier.
Thank you.
I don't think Pinterest is dead. I think it's actually coming back, because I've been hearing more and more and more about it lately from people that I wouldn't necessarily call as a source for Pinterest. And I'm like, it's so good. I've done some experiments of my own, trying to put past episodes of Brushwork on Pinterest, and I am learning so many things about what people like and don't like. Elizabeth, what are your top tips for making a good pin?
Top tips. Yeah, I would say making it very making it simple, for one. Keeping it simple and making sure that it's very easily legible, because people are scrolling, as we're all well aware, because we all kind of do a scroll and like
zooming by.
something that making really clear letters, very legible, and having a beautiful image. And so that's my number one tip. And honestly, I wouldn't but I just worry too much about making it super pretty. I actually found that a lot of pins that I've made that are almost, design-wise kind of ugly, did well. So, and I've heard other people, extremely successful bloggers, who get an enormous amount of traffic, say that as well. So don't get, of course, if you enjoy making it look pretty and all that, that's wonderful, but you don't need to get too hung up on that. The most important thing to consider is making it super legible and having just really clear imagery and making sure that it really shows what your article is about, or whatever you're linking to, your video or whatever it is.
It needs to be about what you're linking it to. It needs to be super legible. And, some of these have your brand colors, I would say, usually just your icon, but it doesn't have to follow your brand colors. What's more important is that people are reading it and then they're clicking on it. Yeah,
absolutely. And then, also another thing, because you were mentioned before, just how you saw like one that was, the slightly different, but it was the same topic, same article. And that's another important thing, to make different pins for the same thing. And I wouldn't send them out on the same note. Don't post those all on the same day. Kind of spread them out.
Yeah.
So Pinterest really actually is totally cool with that. They encourage that. They like that, having multiple pins that have the same link. However, you just need to change the image a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it can read that. It will not like it if you just pin the exact same pin all the time.
Yes.
So change the image a little bit. And again, follow those things of making it super legible, very clear, beautiful. But again, don't get too hung up on it. It can be ugly as well. But just you also want a caption that catches people's attention. So just a title that is attention grabbing. Of course, you don't want to mislead people, but you want something that will grab people's attention at the same time.
You just gotta lean into the clickbait. Okay, so for example,
Yes.
Here's a good one: art supply storage tips for traveling. She has another pin that says art supply storage ideas for traveling, like just slightly different photo, but mostly the same format, and it's great. And then you click on it and it says 9+ best travel art supplies for painters. How great is that? It's simple. I'm like, I travel, I'm an artist, I'm clicking on that. Let me just save that. There we go. And and it's so good to do slight variations. And these pins, they're like, I'm not going to call them ugly. They're very nice to look at. They match the colors in the backgrounds. Like some of them you clearly put more effort into than others, and I wish I could see the numbers behind these pins, but if you are just viewing them as a user, you won't see any numbers. But I'm like, I wonder which one gets more engagement. I wonder which one gets more shares.
What I can tell you is I don't have my Pinterest in front of me now, but a lot of my pins from kind of my very earliest pins actually do the best. And I think you actually mentioned at the beginning of this article how one of your pins from a long time ago does well. And and that's one of the beautiful things about Pinterest is like kind of what you were saying before, it's evergreen. So it's something that it's not like an Instagram or TikTok that actually TikTok lives longer than Instagram, but like it's like 24 hours and then it's kind of done. And versus Pinterest, it's evergreen. And that's what I've been focusing on. That's why I kind of disappeared from Instagram. It's kind of frustrating, but I've been focusing on evergreen, which is Pinterest. YouTube is another one that's evergreen, but that lives on. So a lot of my oldest pins do really well, which is kind of funny, but I am trying to get back in, because I mentioned to you earlier on, I kind of have been taking a break from Pinterest, which goes to show we're still getting a lot of traffic from Pinterest, even though I really haven't done very much with Pinterest at all, like the past couple of years. So that's to say that is amazing. Because I don't know many other social medias that are like that. You have to kind of be constantly on it. Otherwise you're gone.
A really common fear I hear a lot from people who responding to the podcast and things like that is, I'm afraid to take a break. I'm afraid if I stop making content, if I stop posting, I'm just gonna lose all my traction and have to start over. I hear this constantly, and I'm like, Pinterest does the work for you. If you're consistent for a little while, you can take breaks and still get engagement, still get money through these methods, and don't sleep on it. Like, even if it's slowed down or whatever, it's like, it's really, really good. And you can reuse these these images in your emails. You can reuse them on your website. Like, you can reformat them to be like Instagram posts or whatever.
Totally.
Instagram is like, oh, if you see it, if you're like one of the, 60 people who saw my post, it's great. And then it's gone forever unless you look on my feed, in which you're going to scroll maybe one time and see maybe 12 images. It's like, Pinterest is better. And
absolutely.
What I love about the saved pins is that if you click on one of the pins that, say, Elizabeth has made, you can see what other like groups of pins that other people have saved it to, and like I guess folders, and then you get more ideas and you get more things. You're like, oh, you want winter painting ideas? Well, here's a whole folder of them. They're really, really fun, and some of them are Elizabeth's and some are other people's, and it's quite nice, and it's very fun.
Thank you. Yeah, that was kind of a tip that sort of got from just researching I binged listened to podcasts when I was initially starting this
Mm.
blog and actually saying podcast. I did not well actually I did, but that's how it got me into blogging. And I think you know about that. I initially was actually going to start a podcast, or that's what Artsy Life was supposed to be. It was supposed to be a podcast,
Yeah.
but then I realized that I am very much an introvert, and doing interviews, I'm not very good at doing interviews. It was just it was a little hard for me. And so then I got into writing. I was like, you know what? It's much easier for me to just write. And it's different for everyone. I think some people, work well with video, some people podcast, some people write. So it's like everyone, and I think it's good to find what feels more natural to you. Yeah, so the folders, that was a tip that I remember learning from a number of different people by listening to podcasts that were specifically about Pinterest and just blogging in general, and it's good to have different categories. And so that's just a tip. I think it helped me enormously. It was just listening. I binge listened to so many different bloggers just telling what they did, and Pinterest people who did well on Pinterest, and that was super helpful, especially kind of things that were working like right at that moment in time, because it does change a little bit. Some things stay the same, but some things do change a bit.
Some things definitely change. So, for example, what Elizabeth is talking about, she's got like almost 8,000 pins here, and they're not all in one folder that just is called Art Studio Life, right? It's like oil painting for beginners, it's painting tips, it's oil painting tips, it's watercolor ideas, it's floral, like, I lost it. That's okay. It's like fall painting ideas. It's like portrait painting and group painting ideas. And so all these little categories, she'll fit whatever her pins are in and be like, which one does it fit best? It's more specific, it's more niche, it's more likely to get people to click on it. This is a fun question. Can you walk me through what a typical week of content creation looks like for you?
Yeah, well, I'll start off with I guess I do sort of have a typical, but it does sometimes get interrupted, my typical sort of content creation.
That's okay.
Week.
That's okay.
But a typical kind of week looks like I do try to have my morning time is when I paint, and that's when I say that I mean I work on my own work that I have, so kind of just. I typically like to start my painting time at 9. That's sort of I kind of have morning time that's just to myself before starting work. But start painting at 9 and then work till lunchtime. And then I do sometimes record myself what I'm working on, but I do try to have separation between my own work and then the blogging work so that I feel more freedom just in my own work. But that said, it's one thing that's beautiful about having kind of this business, this blogging business, and then having my own work is that I can recycle content from just my own work and use that as teaching material in my blogging work. So I do definitely take pictures, sometimes record myself video, and then use that. But so I have my painting time, and then after lunch, I work on emails. It's a big part of everything. Responding to emails, and then I kind of I try to get out an new article once a week. So I try to kind of by Tuesday, kind of earlier in the week, I have a new article out that is ready, at least at the very latest Tuesday, ready to be edited. And my husband actually edits those, so I try to have that ready for him.
Nice.
By Tuesday. So I typically work on that kind of later in that, kind of maybe start later in the week, and then kind of sometimes over the weekends kind of finish it up so it's ready by Tuesday. But I work on that, and then I also there's kind of different things throughout the year that I'm working on. Sometimes kind of in the day, I have to edit videos, a course video, sometimes YouTube video. I have not been consistent with creating YouTube. That's something I will kind of in time just be more consistent about, maybe getting out once a week a YouTube video, but I'm not there yet. But that's also something just in the week I might work on video editing. So I feel like everything I work on kind of blog wise, sort of, I feel like my mornings are very consistent just working on my painting, but then through the week, the afternoon / evening just consists of emailing, making content, writing articles, and making videos, editing videos. And maybe it involves they maybe I'm working on a new course, but that's atypical. But that's typically what it kind of something like that looks like.
That's some good structure. It's nice to have your own deadlines. It's nice to have separated work hours between things. I
Yes.
definitely have to like remind myself to take videos of me painting every once in a while. I'm like, I need to, where's my phone? I gotta take a video. Then I like, whew, bye.
Oh, totally. It's something I know, like often I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to take a picture of that, and it's like, and that part, or take a video, and it's like, oh no. And for me, like one of the, I shouldn't say the worst, there's far worse things, but forget to take like the setup of your still life when you're showing the paint, because so many people are like, oh, what were you painting from? The students want to see that, but yeah. It can be hard to remember.
Just don't forget to film it. Keep filming it.
That's right.
I stream my art on Twitch, and I have a sound effect that just says "Don't forget to film it" that my viewers can press so I can like remember to take a video.
That's actually really good. I was once teaching. This is now a while ago, but I was doing. I sometimes with my courses, rarely now, but I did more so in the past, because all my courses are pre-recorded, but I would sometimes do live sessions, Zoom sessions, but I would record them then for those who weren't able to attend. I forgot to hit the record button on the Zoom session, and it wasn't fun.
Good job.
Yeah, right.
Nailing it. Classic. Your schedule sounds normal. It sounds like a great, healthy work-life balance. Do you have like a time of day where you're just like, okay, it hits 6 o'clock or whatever, we're done working regardless of what the project is, or?
I wish. I think that would be a very good thing to have. Yeah. So yes and no. I feel around 11, I shouldn't be having the computer anymore out, and working on stuff. I know this sounds like, oh wow, work really late there.
But that's what it takes.
Yeah. I mean, usually I'm not working till 11, to be honest. That's typically not. For myself, I think around 9, I'm like, okay, done. Because, there's, have lunch, after my painting, have lunch, work on blogging stuff, dinner comes around, have dinner, and then there's maybe a few things kind of afters that want to work on a little bit more.
Yeah.
That's not always, but sometimes. But I feel like my cutoff is kind of more of that. But again, it's my husband and I, when you see the other person working, like, oh, I should also do this. Okay, I need to do that. Because, as we all know, just as well as I, it never really ends. You could always do more. There's never, literally never, and there's just always more work for you to do, no matter how much you work, no matter how long you work. So there's that's a hard part, and I think it is very healthy to have kind of what you're mentioning, like a time, or okay, I don't work anymore, and that's something I am working on with myself, to kind of have that.
It's part of the artist's, I guess, lifelong career, where there will never be an end point until we put down the paintbrush for the last time. It's like, I'm always going to be making more art. And I think that tendency and that like acknowledgement of that lifestyle, and then bringing that into content creation is, it's easier, but it's also dangerous, because it's like the boundary is like, oh, well, I'll just keep going until 40 years have passed, and then it's over.
Totally. Yeah, right.
And it's kind of just part of it. It's good. Does your husband's work schedule, is it similar to yours, where you try to work together in the afternoons at the same time, or is
it's a little different? Because I actually wake up earlier, so I have that, and I work on I have things that I do before I start painting. But he starts kind of with the blog work kind of in the morning, kind of after he wakes up. So that is one thing that's a little different. So in a way, he does a little more than I do with the blog, because I have my painting that I do, but I do use some of those things that I contribute to the blog that add, create teaching material, content around that. So it's a little different in that, but then also very similar, because then we are kind of in that afternoon/evening time where we're both very much kind of working on things. So
it's a full-time job, and
it is,
very,
and it's,
yeah.
Yeah. And in a way, it's sort of trying at the moment. It feels because we're still in a building up stage with the business. And the goal of this business is to
Yeah.
be able to create more time to paint. And that's always been kind of my whole time now being a painter. I've been, choosing jobs, doing things based on how much time I can then have to paint.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what all this is about, is being able to then create that space, create that time. And my husband also, he's a musician. He's not a painter, but he's a musician. He's an artist in different ways. And so for him then to be also to pursue those things, that's kind of both of our goals with that. So I feel like we're sort of we're still in the building up stage, and then in the future kind of there will be more of that space, hopefully, to be able to create and work on projects and those things.
It's a great goal. It's the dream, really.
It is.
How old is Art Studio Life at this point?
Yes. So I guess, I would say about 3-ish years.
All right, that tracks.
Yeah. So it's been a while. It's been a little while. Yeah.
One less scheduled question. What is your ideal day? So, like, say we're like 3 years in the future. What would your ideal be for, both working on your art and working on Art Studio Life or whatever else you've got going on?
Yeah, that's so wonderful when you say that, my ideal day, because like I feel like so often I don't, ideal day doesn't necessarily. There are days when it does happen, and it's like at the end of the day you're like, that was so amazing, that was wonderful. But my ideal day is I feel like wake up kind of early-ish, and I kind of have time to pray, read my Bible, and meditate, and then I actually something I don't share very often at all about, just because it's fun to kind of just something to keep to yourself that you do. But I am a big believer in having a hobby that has nothing to do with your work or with your painting. And this is something that I have, and I work on actually in the morning before I even paint. So this is and it's, for me, it's very fun. So it's something I do.
Wait, what's your hobby?
So I actually make my own clothes.
Oh shit!
I do.
That's so cool.
I haven't yet. My entire wardrobe is not, as of yet, self-made, but I actually it's now like over time built up, and it's really fun. So I learned how to sew. So I've been sewing my own clothes, and I got into knitting during the pandemic. So like it's been honestly just really fun, just like having something, working with my hands, and something has nothing to do with, and there's no expectations. It's just purely fun. So I love that, and it's been really fun, kind of just learning more about that and such. So I do that in the mornings.
Nice.
Before then I paint. As I mentioned before, kind of that would be super ideal. Just kind of from 9, have a really good session until maybe 1:00. I really, be able to concentrate, not get distracted in any session. The break for lunch, and then kind of have just a good, solid. Again, I feel like focus and concentration. Those are things like then if kind of getting into just blogging work, emails, and working on that. Having content that you're writing up, and kind of then getting into the evening time and breaking for dinner, and then I think my ideal day would then kind of after dinner kind of be done with working on work. I feel like that would be super ideal, and then just relaxing and hanging out, and then taking the evening to prepare for the next day, because I think a lot of kind of having a really great ideal schedule of kind of what you're saying successful schedule is preparing for the next day, kind of having things laid out, being mentally prepared, and kind of knowing what you're going to do, because things just go so much more smoothly when you kind of have written out what you're going to do. I am not that organized. I'm trying to be, but I am not that organized yet. Yeah.
That's extremely dreamy, and I love it. And I every once in a while I just stop and I'm like, what is my ideal day? What am I going towards? What do I want to be going towards? And I'm like,
what would be your ideal day?
Oh, well, let's see. In the mornings, I So I am made of hobbies. I love hobbies. Hobbies are my
Yeah.
favorite thing. I'm like, I'm telling nobody about
Amen.
this. And
Yeah.
and it's great. Okay, so I would probably start the morning with gardening because I love plants so much. I'm like an amateur botanist over here, and it's great.
So do you have a garden?
I have a garden, and
that's awesome. That's so cool.
it's so fun. I just planted some 2 Japanese maple trees, and they're like wee little babies, and they're like bright coral colored.
I love those trees. They're so beautiful. My mother had one in her yard, and it was just it was magnificent.
They're a delight. And then I would probably I like to do all of my admin work is what I call it in the mornings actually.
Okay.
So I like to spend between, I don't know, 10 and noon with all of my emails, and I try to get it done. Otherwise, I just can't stop thinking about it if I'm painting. I'm like, oh, I forgot to email that person back. Oh, I need to talk to my collector. Oh, I need to do this, that, and the other thing. Anyways, so I get that done. It's over with, and anyone else I can respond to the next day. And then I like to paint. Usually it's on Twitch. I like to stream it.
Okay.
And I'll paint for 3 hours or so, and then have the evenings off. You know, go out to dinner with my partner. Go watch a movie. Take a walk. Go roller skating. I like to do that sometimes. It's very fun. Yeah, that's the ideal day.
Oh, that sounds. I actually forgot to add the exercise part in. So I would think evening, because my goodness, it just opens your mind up so much, but more when you're able to exercise, and that sounds awesome.
It's a good day. My pro tip for artists is if you want to paint for a long time, you should exercise because you have to take care of your body. Okay, that's
right. That's actually that's a really good tip, because I mean it really it's so important, and you don't think of that as much when you're younger, because it's just so absolutely just crucial. And I know for myself, I feel like if I'm not moving or do extra, I feel like more like a sloth.
Yes.
Just feel like and so you just feel better about yourself too, and all around good.
It's top tier. It's top tier.
Yeah.
Anyways, those are the ideals. My very last question for you is, what are some of your big goals or projects coming up? What's next for you and for Art Studio Life? Yeah,
that's a good question. So in a way, like I feel like I have lots of ideas, and like some are not thought out yet. Some are not, I feel like, tangible enough to be able to really put into words in a way. But then I have some kind of more concrete things that I have plans for, goals for. One mentioned a bit earlier, just I have a series of books that ebooks, I should say, that I plan to hopefully get out sooner than later, and haven't yet started to work on them, but I will be starting to do that sooner. And also get out more content that just it relates to and is desirable for more advanced painters. So that's something I plan to work on more. And I do also have plans for and something I'm very excited about, and I haven't yet started work on, but I do plan to do that kind of coming up, and is kind of working on I don't know. Again, this is something I'm not sure how to put into words, and
sure.
and it's also really kind of keeping it under wraps for now. But working on something that has to kind of bringing my own work kind of more into play, because that's something I've really kept under wraps a bit. Kind of, it's very much behind the scenes, kind of, because I haven't yet updated my portfolio site. It's kind of work from a while ago. I've even had people there that I went to a gallery opening a while back in Seattle and met someone that I knew from music, like, oh, are you still painting? And I was like, yep, I'm still painting. Let's see, because I've looked at my Instagram, it's I haven't really been very active and haven't been good about posting my work, but I'm an extremely active painter. I paint a lot, so I do have plans for kind of building up just a gallery website and
Nice.
Creating something like that and doing that. So that's something we'll be working on in a bit, and kind of building up. So that's a project that I have, not to mention just actual painting projects that I plan to work on and do. So
That's most excellent. Well, I hope your books go well. I hope your paintings get seen by someone that's not you. And I hope you I hope your projects just go swimmingly. This has been great. Elizabeth, where can people find you on the internet?
Yeah, so you can find my portfolio, my own work at elizabethlarsen.com. So that's actually Elizabeth with an S, Elizabeth Larsen. And then you can find my blog at artstudiolife.com.
Excellent.
And you can, if you want, you can join my email list at artstudiolife.com to learn just more about painting. You can also just join my email list to observe just what I do. If you're someone who's maybe interested in doing a blog, a great way to kind of see just how that works is actually to join people's email lists, and that's something I did personally, just to kind of see how they do it and what they do and that kind of thing. So feel free to join whatever you are interested in, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Heck yeah. I think it's very important to sign up for your friends' email lists, whether they have a 34,000 email list or it's like 100 people like mine. Hey,
Right.
And you learn so much about email marketing that way. And I'm going to do a whole episode on email marketing in the future, so you can stay tuned for that. Thank you for chatting with me today.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's been a delight, and I'm very honored to be on here.